Why did we sell everything, run away and start living this life?
I think there was like probably about 2 years of Scarlett's life that you didn't put her to bed.
It was really, really emotional. It was something that we weren't really expecting.
We didn't have the money for that flight.
We chose McDonald's as a location. Hello and welcome back to the show. This is the Dare to Venture podcast with me, your host, Chris.
And me, Tamira.
We are on episode 2 this week. We had episode 1 last week, and that was the launch of the podcast. And we were slightly sort of nervous about putting it out, how it was going to come across and everything like that. But we were so pleasantly surprised, weren't we?
That is very true. We were really nervous when it first went up, and we were nervous because it's the first time I've ever done anything like this. And it kind of, because it was new to us, we were a little bit vulnerable. We didn't know how it would come across, but all the feedback has been really positive, and we're really happy and we're excited to go through the whole of this series. Are we calling it a series?
We've got 6 episodes. So yeah, this is season. So
Okay.
we're going to call it a season.
Okay.
Season 1, 6 episodes. This is episode number 2. Episode number 1, thank you all so much for the feedback. Everybody who tuned in. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're following along on Spotify, follow us on there, or Apple Podcasts as well.
So today we're going to be speaking about why did we make this decision to travel and how we kind of did it, and basically the beginning of our story, which I think both of us are a little bit worried about in a slight way because we haven't visited talking about that for quite a while. It's 2 years ago now.
Yeah, we've passed the 2-year mark. And obviously when you're making the decision that we have, sort of doing this all new lifestyle, this sort of, a lot of people think maybe it's crazy or certainly a really big decision. We wanted to give a bit of an insight as to what led to making that decision.
From our personal side of
Yeah.
our decisions.
From our personal side, and what led to where we are now. So why did we make that decision? We obviously left our life behind in the UK and everything like that. So that's what the theme of today's episode is, and we are going to be going into that. But first, we're going to have a little what's new roundup. What's new with the Hutchinsons at the moment?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, right. I just can't get it out of my head, and I'm going to say it. We have been watching some very good series at the moment.
Yes, we have.
And we've been a little bit naughty and stayed up a little bit too late, getting sucked into this series. And number 1, if you can get this from me saying this, House of Bamboo.
Yep. Yep. This City Is Ours, we've just finished. Was absolutely excellent. I'm going to give it a whopping 10 out of 10.
I think we've stayed up to about 1 in the morning just watching it.
We've been naughty on that front.
Because since travelling, we haven't actually been stuck in. There's been points where we've watched a few series when we've been in places where the TV is good and we can do it and we've had a bit of spare time. But normally we're pretty much busy, and we've kind of, because we're in our little base area, we've started watching series again, and we've just overindulged a little bit, and
Definitely.
that series was very, very addictive. And then we did that, and if you didn't see our TikTok dance, which I think we kind of pulled off a little bit, people mentioned Mobland.
Yes.
Okay, and that has been the last few days kind of addiction that we absolutely slammed it through, and I think we stayed up until 2 in the morning.
Look,
the other day watching it.
We've been bad, okay? We're not going to sugarcoat it. We've binged 2 series in 2 weeks. So that's where we are. And it is all kind of like mobs and gangster stuff. So I don't want to give off the wrong impression here. Yeah.
They're really, really good. And we've really enjoyed them. But that's kind of what's new with kind of my situation and our situation, what we've been doing. We've also had your parents and family are visiting at the moment.
Yes. Yeah. So we had my brother and his girlfriend have been here for the past month. They've just gone on now to their next location because they're going to be traveling for the next 6 months. So they've been here and it's been really good to see them. And then in between those sort of 4 weeks, my mum and dad came out. So grandma and granddad came out and they've been here for the past 2 weeks. So we've been having some really nice family time.
We've been having really nice family time, and it's just nice to just kind of touch on. It's been so nice for the girls to have the grandparents here. And as we're doing what we're doing and we're coming up to the 2-year mark and people ask us if we miss our family. And yeah, of course we miss our family, but Chris's parents are really good at touching base, and they do, when they can, fly out to come meet us.
We're really lucky that they managed to make it over here, and the girls get that grandparent time, and we're just so fortunate and thankful that they managed to come over here, and they have done quite a bit over the past 2 years. So they've been come out for their routine trip to Penang.
That's what's new with me. That's what's been going on this week. Go on then, give us a little bit of update from your side, or have I covered it all?
You've pretty much covered it all. Obviously, I'm consumed by the podcast and doing all the stuff like that, so that's been part of what I've been doing. And also we as a family as well have been getting heavily into CrossFit.
Oh, that's true.
So we are quite generally, we do a lot of gym stuff and fitness, and we had a run club and stuff like that. But we've just recently started going to this CrossFit place that we've started renting, and we train in there as a family. Olivia and Scarlett and Bella, they've all been having a little go as well. Olivia a little bit more so than the other two, but we're just kind of into CrossFit. So that's been also something new recently as well.
Okay, so from a scale, because we've been really hitting it hard and got really overly excited into it. Between a 1 to 10 today, how much are you aching?
Today, I'm about a 4 out of 10, but over the past week or so, I've reached peak levels of like 9.8 out of 10 because CrossFit can be quite heavy on the body. So, but the whole thing is you get used to it, you get fitter, you get stronger. So I'm feeling good. I've got another session. Actually, we've got a session after this podcast.
We have a Hutchinson family session.
Yeah, we've got a session after this, so feeling pumped about that. But yeah, CrossFit is on the agenda, and that is currently a rough touch base.
Oh, we've got another kind of like thing that's on our mind at the moment, and we're going to keep everyone updated with it because it's very, very important. But we have decided we are having the opportunity and deciding to change a little bit about how we're doing homeschooling and how the girls are educated, which we're excited. I'm slightly nervous about, which is all just like mum crazy stuff, but that is happening, and we're really excited to share the process with you as it goes through. But we've made different decisions on that, so that's been going through as well. And I think that's about it with what's new with us.
I
think that is it.
All is good. So moving on to the main theme of today's episode, which is,
why did we quit the UK?
Yeah.
Are we crazy?
Yeah. Why did we sell everything, run away, and start living this life?
I don't know if we're still going to seem like we're really, really crazy, because when you put it out like that, like we left our house that we lived in for 10 years with a mortgage, the girls going to school, having good jobs, having cars, or everything like that. Like, does it still feel like we're crazy when we tell you our actual story, or will it actually make a little bit more sense? That's kind of...
I think also for people listening who are thinking about doing something like this, and it might not be like doing exactly what we've done, but something different or changing your life in a certain way, it might just give you a little bit of insight as to why we did it and the things leading up to it and what made us make that decision, because obviously it is a huge life-changing decision, and we really did have all the boxes ticked. We were married, we have three beautiful children, but we had the family, we had the house, the mortgage, we had jobs.
We also did actually have a dog as well.
We had
a family dog,
wonderful dog, Humphrey. We had like you're ticking all the boxes, and we weren't super miserable at all. We had a happy life. We had everything that you are led to believe that you should have, and we followed everything in what way you are led to believe you should. So we did have everything, really.
And I think like the whole point is, when we go back through it, I don't think we really ever realised anything was wrong or we wanted to change anything until something actually happened to us and things made us change our minds. So when me and Chris first sort of like met, we've always liked traveling, but we're not big backpackers. We're not before we met, we weren't big backpackers. We just liked experiencing new countries, taking in the culture and everything like that. And I think when we first met, we always said, we want to go and travel, we want to go do this. And like life just happened. We just had the jobs. We went for it, like you just said. We got everything, and we were living how we thought we should be living. And time, I don't know why, time just went like that. I remember giving birth to Olivia, and that only seems like 10 seconds ago. But then in that time, we had lived 10 years in that house.
Yeah.
When we were packing it up, 10 years.
It's the grasp on time, and you don't realize it just passing by.
What did actually change? We were just living our lives. You're just thinking about, should I change my career again to be able to earn more money? Are we going to buy the 4-bedroom detached house? All of this, we're making decisions to go bigger, better, buying another car. Then, oh no, because we bought that car, we need to work some extra hours or maybe change our career. I was thinking about changing how I was working around the children, because I'd gone through the phase of preschool and hours around that, and then them going to school really affected my hours and not seeing the family as much. You were thinking about changing what you were doing, going more into videography rather than just personal training. So we were all on this line of what we were doing next. We had decided that we were having Bella. We had tried for Bella, we fell pregnant with Bella, and we geared everything up to actually buy a 4-bed detached house.
Our house was on the market. And we were ready to make the move and go into the next step of our family getting older and going into that next phase. And like,
we're still on this whole route of like just living, just doing everything, and that was it. But then we all know what happened in that year that we won't go too much into what happened, but 2020 happened.
Yeah, the big year for everybody probably listening to this. And like, just touching on what we just said before, you don't realize what's happening until you come to a big standstill. So we both had leisure jobs, Tamara, swim teacher, me, personal trainer. And we were working pretty much all the time. When I wasn't working, Tamara was working, and so on. Obviously, being a personal trainer, your main times of work are peak times. So it would be before work and after work for clients. I did have some incredible daytime clients as well, and I miss all of you. I really did look back on that time fondly, but as a family,
it wasn't working. Like, I think there was like probably about 2 years of Scarlett's life that you didn't put her to bed.
Yeah, because I wasn't getting home till sort of at 9:30,
and
PM,
bedtime was 7:30.
Yeah, so I would generally Monday to Friday do that, but on a weekend I would be fortunately I would be off on a Saturday and Sunday, but Tamara would be working on a Saturday and Sunday, so we were like sliding doors. But
just living the normal life. We're a little bit more extreme with like the working leisure hours and having a family.
Yeah.
I don't think, but I don't think we really realised it too much, and we were okay, but we were absolutely fine with it. And like I said, this year happened and everything was locked down. We both didn't have to go to work. I was 20 weeks pregnant with Bella at the time, and it was lovely to actually have that time with the older 2 girls before another one came along. I could just concentrate on being pregnant rather than working and being pregnant, and then you were in the house.
It was random. It was obviously everything just came to a standstill, and all of a sudden we were a full family of 4, one on the way, 24/7, and we really liked it.
We did. I mean, and we had the family dog as well at the time, Humphrey, and we really spent that summer all together, walks together. I think it was the happiest year of Humphrey's life.
It was. I mean, he was older at that point, but again, we look back on that, we're so thankful that we got that time with him. And then you end up realizing, actually, I wasn't seeing the girls at all. Like, from my side, we weren't spending quality time together as a couple for both of us. So it was kind of like, it really made you realize like what was going on prior, where was all that time going, and how many years had passed without us actually slowing down and looking at it and going, well, actually, we do want to spend time with our children, we do want to spend time as a family. And that is what happened to us.
I think it was quite crazy, and this is where the idea, I think we always had the idea of going to travel or maybe slightly emigrating to another country or doing something else. But it's always been the hold on, we need family, we need the babysitters, school. All of these options in the past were always a little bit of a barrier. And this idea of, we want to see the world, we want to spend more time together, and the idea of traveling together as a family was born, and we started really discussing about it, really realizing that we were in our own little bubble at that time. And our little bubble was fantastic. We were thriving all together. And it meant, wait a minute, we can take this on. I can homeschool the girls. I can do this. We can be a team. I flourished spending time with you.
Yeah.
I was a better person being with the person that I love. Like, and it just all worked. The girls were better with daddy around. Like it just all worked. And this whole idea of traveling, mixing it all together was born. And you were so keen on it.
Yeah, I think we had the ultimate dream was to do what we've done, which is amazing. But we, travel full time, be together, experience amazing things together as a family, create lifelong memories. And that was the ultimate. And then we had other options, obviously, of emigrating to a different country for a different way of life, trying to get the work-life balance a little bit better. And that was kind of like plan B. But I was really keen on it because I knew what was coming once things were coming to an end. And I thought, you know what, can we do it? We've got this opportunity. We can do it. This is what we've got to do.
But it was so scary. I was so keen to be doing it, but the barriers were massively up. Like, I'll never forget. I mention it now. I'll never forget the conversation in McDonald's.
Oh yeah,
conversation
that was like the pinnacle, the main.
And I can't
decider.
believe how it worked out. Like, we'd discussed everything, we'd thought about everything, and we were keen on the idea of it. I had a few barriers up. Now, what happened was...
By the way, we chose McDonald's as a location, okay? It's kind of a good meeting place, I guess. But we went in McDonald's. This is where it all boiled down to set the scene.
I think you took me into public so I wouldn't fly off the handlebars.
Yeah, maybe that was a strategic
I
move.
knew we all would want it, and it's the dream, and you talk about it and you want to go traveling, and then it's like, oh, we'll do it when we're retired and the children are grown up. And it was like, we decided, no, we want to live with the children and spend time with them and show them the world too. So it was all like, oh yeah, I mean, you put it in a box, you're like, oh, it's a nice little dream. But you are this person that if
I want to make them dreams come true.
Yes.
And if I have goals, I want them to come true.
Yes.
And I won't just imagine them and then
put them in a box.
Oh, that could be. No, imagine them and think, oh, we can do that. I think we can do that. I will route map a way to making that happen. And that's exactly what I did. And it took me months and months to route plan, and from everything from where we're traveling.
You're skipping our McDonald's chat.
We're going to go back to McDonald's chat, but it did take me a long time to get to that McDonald's chat of, I've got all this planned out and I know where we're going to go. I know what we're going to do. And this is plan A. This is the big plan, and we're going to make it happen. And then obviously we talked, but the McDonald's chat was the be all and end all.
The McDonald's chat. How many times are we saying McDonald's chat?
Not sponsored by McDonald's, by the way.
It was just the way that it was the option of, we went in there to have this conversation and we were making the decision, and you had all of the options written down and I had my head ready to explode. But we went there, we had our notepads out, and the first alarm bells were selling the house, quitting the jobs,
all the big things,
getting the girls out of education.
Yeah. And you say those out loud, and it's like you start to shudder a bit, because it's
I didn't shudder.
Wow.
I started doing these crazy drawings on the notepad.
Next to Tamira's big, tasty, large meal I'd provided for her to settle down the
you know the
tension.
way to my heart.
Next to that was some insane doodling and drawings on paper that was meant to be for making notes, but it was just literally intense scribbles. There were sort of those big things on the paper, and obviously when you say them out loud, they are pretty scary. We're going to sell our family home. We're going to take the girls out of the system, out of the education system in the UK. We're going to quit our jobs, our source of income. It sounds mental.
It blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, no. And like, the biggest thing for me, 100%, because now I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's really silly now, but it was selling the house and not having a home and getting rid of something that we owned. And it was really hard for me to go, oh, and then I was like, right, what about renting? And we looked at it all, we discussed it all, we went through it, and it just wasn't the right choice for us. So the only option was to sell the house. And that was the biggest no-no for me.
Yeah, that was definitely the biggest barrier.
Yeah, I think it was the option of emigrating to Australia, and I saw that as like, okay. And
that was a really good backstop.
Yeah.
It was like, if we're going to do anything, we need to sell the house, and we need to make these big steps. It is handing the notice in at work and leaving our jobs, pulling the girls out and selling the house.
We couldn't do it by half.
No, we needed to do those free. And Australia was a great backstop because we knew we had an option of a visa there with your qualifications. So we did have that visa option, and it was a perfect backstop.
It was, and suddenly I started to ease up, and I started to feel excited. All of that anxiety about not having a house, and like then it's like we've put all this time into the house and our home and memories being there and everything, and you just realise. And now looking back at it, because we're 2 years on and we're living without a house, you suddenly realise how small that is, and the fact that I'm going to go down a rabbit hole, and I'm really sorry for this, that we had a mortgage on a house, but the bank owned that house, and we were just paying for it on that thing. So we can go, oh yeah, we're homeowners.
But even if we'd have lost our job at any moment and we couldn't afford to pay the mortgage, then the house would have gone. So
to the bank.
Essentially, you mortgage, you own the house, but essentially you don't own the house. The bank owns the house pretty much. But that's
my thoughts weren't there, because I saw that as our house, and it was our first house that we bought together. So many memories, and it was quite scary. But I wanted this more. I wanted a chance, and like you said, we had to do it all to actually live a little bit in the way that we wanted to live.
Making the decision to leave and making a decision to do this, we did have like several things that happened that all pointed us towards us making the decision, because obviously we left in 2023. We made the final decision in 2022. So between 2020 and 2022, we had all these discussions, all the planning, everything like that. And we went back and forth. And at one minute we weren't doing it because we couldn't see it possible. The next minute we were doing it. We wanted it more than anything. And there was just these hurdles and these things that we would go through. These things were really, really quite shocking. And there would be for anyone, the normal life things that happen. But it was just one thing after another that really hit home with us. And it really set a big sort of emphasis on time and how precious time is, and that you never know what's around the corner. And those things led us to going, yes, we want to do this. We have to do this. And it wasn't till the point in the McDonald's meeting where we had to just make the decision on the house and the big stuff. So
I think all of these things are really emotional to talk about.
Yeah.
With what made us realise that time, you don't know how much time you've got, and that we had so much more time together in the period where we weren't working because we couldn't go out. These things happened very close to us and affected us very deeply, which made us feel like grabbing our girls really close and wanting to make the most of the time
that we have,
that we don't know how much we've got.
We had the opportunity to do it, and all these things just came to that point, and we walked out of McDonald's. Tamira had got over the stress.
I finished my burger.
Wolfed down the Big Tasty with bacon, a favourite of ours, and we left, and that was it. And once we
didn't really look back.
You don't look back. One thing about us is once we say we're going to do something, we do it. So we walked out of McDonald's, and it was all systems go. It wasn't Nancy Pansy or dip your toes in. We walked out of McDonald's, and the evaluators came round to evaluate the house, and it was on the market, and we were going. All systems go.
It's just absolutely mad to think about, because it was literally, we walked hand in hand out of that McDonald's and everything was clear. We were taking it with both hands and we weren't looking back, and we were taking our chance. We had so many plans. If plan A didn't work out.
Yeah.
You had so many different variables that could go wrong.
One bit of advice I would say for people is if you are planning on doing something, do have a plan B, C, and D. Have other options. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And that's one thing that I worked on for a long time and looked at all different routes and different avenues and different options if plan A didn't work out, or plan B and plan C. And we've still got those now to this day, 2 years on. So I think that's one thing to take away is always do your planning, take your time to plan, and think about other options if some of those options don't work out. But yeah, the house sale was obviously the biggest challenge because it wasn't up to us. We relied on other people wanting the property and offering the amount for the property and it all to go through smoothly. That was the journey.
It was, and it was really nerve-wracking. And also, obviously, putting the house on the market meant that we had to let outer family know our choices and our ideas. It hadn't gone to friends as of yet. It hadn't gone to employers or anything like that. But we had to let them know that we were going to be doing this and that is the aim. And that was a hurdle, but we got it done. Yeah. And me and Chris, we had the conversation. We were both really sure we wanted this decision. So we were hand in hand. There was no dwelling on it. So whoever we were telling, there was no, oh yeah, actually there's something you're saying there that I haven't thought about. We'd thought about it so clearly that there was nothing new was coming up. We were doing this and it didn't matter. So then
it was literally house on the market and we're going to take all the steps to leaving as soon as we could. The house went on the market in August 2022. And that was the process going through, and it was really difficult. Rough. For a while, we had a couple of viewings, and it go really quiet, and then we were at sort of Christmas time.
I know this is when we doubted we were going to do it. We really doubted it. We had the family dog, which we had options of. He was still absolutely fine. He was 12 years old. He was fine, and what happened, we had plans for when we were traveling, who was looking after him, and if we did end up settling in another country, moving him over. And it was really shocking. The house had no viewings. It was coming up to Christmas. Everything had gone cold, and our dog passed away.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it did. And it was really sad, and it was really emotional. It was a point where, it kind of just crept up on us, and it was something that we weren't really expecting. We'd put the plans in place for him to be looked after, and plans in place for that long-term home when we settled. But
that isn't what it's about. It's kind of like more of like when that happened, we went, oh, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. Are we wanting to go travelling? It made us question stuff. We weren't getting
it did, because
viewings on the house.
We basically, over that Christmas period, 2022, we'd lost the dog. We were heartbroken as a family. We had no viewings. We literally went into the new year, 2023, thinking that it was never going to happen. And we were actually trying to heal ourselves from the loss of the family dog, and we were thinking about getting another dog, and do we just stay?
And this is a massive...
Do we just stay?
There's another insight as well. You actually went to job interviews.
Yeah. We hadn't handed our notices in yet. We hadn't done anything like that. We were still working, obviously. But I'd had 3 or 4 job interviews, and some of them were really positive, and it was in a completely different thing to what I was doing at the time. One of them I got offered, and there was options, and we were at a real sticking point early 2023 where we actually nearly handed the towel in because nothing seemed to be going right,
and we needed to move forward as a family.
At the end of January, after because we all know how
this is also how quickly things change. We're talking about job interviews. We're thinking about how we're moving on as a family. We're not going to be able to, because the pulling the trigger of selling the house, it wasn't working. It wasn't happening for us. So we were then going, okay, we've got to start looking for another job and looking forward to getting a 4-bed house if maybe we can move forward.
Just basically go back to what we were going to be originally. Yeah, the dream faded. Going back to what we were doing originally. But we all know how tough in the UK January is. It's like the worst month to experience. So we just got through all that. We were all through the emotion, all through the coming down from the dream. And it wasn't the end of January, the end of the toughest month of the year. And we got an offer. And
Be exact, it was the 24th of January.
24th
and
of
we
January.
got a viewing,
Yes.
which we hadn't had in ages.
No.
The house was a state from
Yes.
Christmas, and I had to get it so up and ready to be looked at. It got looked at on the 24th. We had an offer, full asking price.
Full asking price.
And we
It was, I'll never forget Tamira calling me. I just picked the girls up from school, Olivia and Scarlett. I had Bella as well, obviously. I'd gone up to pick them up. And Tamira rang and said, they want the house, full asking price. And I couldn't believe it. I almost fell to my knees in the school playground, shouting hallelujah. And I was like to the girls, it's happening, girls. We've got an offer. And the girls, honestly, the girls started cheering at the top of their voices. And they were with their friends as well, walking that time. The girls wanted this just as much as us. And they started cheering. And it was just an incredible moment. Like that was like, wow, some things are meant to be.
I think I did go out and buy a bottle of Moet.
Yes, we had a bottle of champagne that night to celebrate.
The trigger had been pulled.
The plan was back on and back on big time.
Yes.
And this was the end of January. So we were going into February and we were like, right, hopefully this thing can go through in 3 months. We weren't in a chain or anything like that. And we were literally, hopefully this can go through as fast as possible so we can get on our way and execute this dream and get on with it. Selling a house is really, really difficult. Anything can happen. We might have celebrated prematurely.
We needed the celebration though.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. It was a hard couple of months leading up to that, if, buts and whatever else. But we finally got that. We had the celebration and then the chucking away of everything and selling.
Yeah, we literally got rid of all of our belongings. We gave stuff away. We sold it. I went to the dump around 50 million times, even at the last minute. I was taking trash.
It was all then about the timing on the triggers of everything else. So we then had to choose when we were informing the school, when we were telling our work. It was all about timing, because what's going to happen is the house is going to be sold and we are not going to be living anywhere.
Well, I sort of, my positivity really kicked in and I was like, this is going to take 3 months. I can't see any problems. So I gave it February, March and April. And I presumed that at the end of April, early May, we would be going. So we timed it for 3 months, which is probably a little bit silly, but I'm just impatient and positive. So we went through the whole thing. We handed our notice in so that basically the last month of work was March. So we had a month left to work in April. So we handed it in and we were working during April, but then leaving in May. So that was the key. But the month's notice was April for like my rental place for the gym, your notices at work. It was a month to go. So the April was our last month working.
And this was really, really tricky to do as well, because you're talking to people and you're saying, oh, I'm not leaving my job to go get another job. I'm leaving because we're going to go traveling. And no one could understand it. Also within this time, like, of trying to sell the house, all the plans prior, you've got to be coy about stuff. Like, I was friends with the people that I worked with, really close friends, and I speak to them to this day, and then letting them know the crazy plan. It was hard.
It was really hard to manage as well. I was self-employed personal trainer. I had loads of clients, amazing loyal clients, friends for years. And it was really hard because I would been open with them and honest, and this is what the plan was. But they could have sort of moved on from me early, and I could have been without any income for a while. They were all incredible and stuck by me right to the last moment. But we had to be careful with what we were saying and how we were managing it, being aware that, if the house falls through and we have already left our jobs, then we're pretty screwed.
It was really, really hard, but like you said, you had really lovely clients, and the person that you're renting the gym
Yeah.
as well. It was a friend as well.
Yeah.
So
everyone was so understanding and supportive.
same with my work as well. I'd worked for years for these people, and they understood, and it was okay. But it's still pretty nerve wracking, and it's still pretty hard. That all guns blazing, we're leaving this life. We don't want to live like this anymore. And then going, can we have our job back? The house didn't sell.
Yeah, that's what the biggest fear was.
Yeah, that was a massive fear, and it nearly happened.
It did nearly happen. There was some complications, basically, and to cut a long story short on the house sale, we ended up being delayed by just 1 month.
With no sofa.
No stuff. We had nothing, no jobs. We were like in lockdown again, but our own personal lockdown, and we were sat on the floor, sleeping on mattresses on the floor for a whole month because we'd prematurely planned to leave. But again, that month was, I look back on that super fondly because it was really special. And we were with the girls every night. We'd watch another episode of Race Across the World. We were so excited and geared up.
Well, at this moment in time, the girls were still going to school. And we will go more in depth about like taking your children out of school and everything else. But I'd had conversations with the school. They were aware of the situation, but we were informed to keep them in education until we were leaving. Yeah. So I was still not pulling the trigger. So the girls were sleeping on the floor, watching Race Across the World, super geared up to be getting on that flight.
Yes.
And they were still going to school, like, no complaints.
They were incredible. The girls are incredible.
They were so strong about
just
it.
Go for it. Head up.
They just went for it. And our day went across the fact of waiting from our conveyor to message us, sitting on the floor in our front room, and then picking the girls up from school. It was really nerve-wracking. It was really exciting. We had the bags packed. We were all ready. Everything was waiting on this day, and it was going and going. And finally, the day happened. The day I pulled the kids out of school. The day that you were going to the skip on the day we were packing up to leave.
We had basically the girls' last day at school was the last day that we lived at our house. That was how quick it was, and it all came down to the dying moments. We had to leave. We had to lock up the house. The girls finished school. It was just.
And by this point as well, I just want to let everybody know the house wasn't our family house anymore. We didn't feel anything sentimental about it. It actually turned into feeling a bit like a ball and chain that we couldn't get away from, and it was holding us back.
We definitely emotionally disattached from it by this point, and that's what we had to do. And we.
Well, it happened organically. It just happened. I remember like walking out with a skip in my step, like thank goodness the house has gone. That's how I genuinely felt about it. So we walked out of the front of the house. We said goodbye, and I remember, I think I did film like clips of the house just to look back on. And I remember like you filmed us walking out because we were giving content creation.
Yeah, the thing is, we had already had a YouTube channel for 2-3 years at this point, just family vlogs. So we were all in on the videos and social media at that point. So we were filming this journey, and it is on YouTube right at the start of us leaving the UK. We had
there's the clip of us. That's the clip.
Yeah, walking out of our house. We'd just signed off.
Getting into your dad's car.
Yeah, getting into my dad's car because all our cars had gone, everything. And we were so excited. The girls were like jumping for joy. We had a spring in our step, and the weight of the house just had lifted, and we were in. It was go time. And I'd already planned, sorted out. We were going to a local hotel. I'd already arranged to be staying there for a few nights. It was a bank holiday weekend, so we had to obviously wait for the money from the house to come through, and we didn't want to book anything flights accommodation wise because just in case there was a problem and we had to lose the flight.
No, that's also, just be deadly honest.
Yeah.
We didn't have the money for that flight.
No, we couldn't afford the flight. It was like
without the house money. We hadn't worked for a whole month. We had zilch. We were banking on. We couldn't travel. We couldn't do anything.
No. So basically, we were waiting on this money coming through from the house sale. Everything was coming down to that. We were in this hotel, we were set up, but
You had your eyes on the flights as well that we
obviously
wanted.
the time, the date, it was right there, and it was another sort of sketchy few days.
It was in May as well. All the
yeah.
bank holidays just happened to be in May.
Yes. So we were like waiting, and the money finally came through. And then I had to be booking things straight away. And it was like the next day we were flying. We had to arrange transport. We were up in Northamptonshire in the UK, and we had to get to Heathrow Airport. So we had to arrange transport down there, everything like that.
But all of this is on YouTube. It is all there. And if you are interested, if this has inspired you, this story of how we left, we recorded absolutely everything as soon as we probably handed in our notice, I think.
Yeah, we have. There's a few videos on there right at the start. So you can go back on our YouTube channel, the Hutchinsons, and see the start. But in this podcast, we've gone into stuff that we didn't film and situations we haven't talked about really.
And how we felt,
and
really.
How we felt. Yeah.
Because I think now we've managed to do plan A at the moment.
Yeah.
We have amazingly managed to do plan A, but it doesn't mean that we still haven't got a list of plans all the way along, just in case things change.
Anything can change. You've got to be fluid, flexible. We left the UK on the 28th of May, 2023. And we haven't looked back. The rest is on our YouTube channel, all the videos, everywhere we've been. And to this day, we're just over 2 years. We're into year 3. And yeah, that is what happened. That is the lead up to us leaving. And wow, 2 years has gone. It's been the best 2 years of our whole lives. It's been incredible. And we're so thankful for our audience, our supporters, everybody who comments and shows support and watches and listens. And it's just been the most incredible dream come true. And again, yes, we do have backup plans just in case things take a turn or we have to go down another direction. And that is one of the bits of advice that I would say is always have plan A, B, C, D, so that you've got a backup and a backstop.
I'm hoping that everyone enjoyed listening to that, and it's not just me and Chris talking and reminiscing. I'm hoping they might inspire you if you're going through something similar, or if you're just interested into, did it just happen? Did we just do it? Where did we get the money from? Where and how did we do it?
Yeah, how did we do it? Why did we do it? And that is basically it. That is the background.
And I'm hoping that you found it interesting.
Yes, hopefully.
This is
so we've got a couple of messages for a couple of questions, okay, from the listeners on the podcast. If you want to ask us a question, just message us or comment on one of our clips at Dare to Venture Pod, Instagram, TikTok, and comment down on our YouTube.
Also, we will be keeping that updated throughout the week before we do our next recording next week, where we will be asking for this section for comments. And if you want to feature, if there's anything that you want to know, please watch out for those. So make sure you're following at Dare to Venture
Pod.
Sorry. I always get little things wrong like that. Make sure you're following it, and please send us a message, a comment, and you may be featuring on our podcast the week afterwards.
Okay, so one of the questions, and it is content creation related because that is the option that we went for when trying to earn money and sustain our travel and build up. So the comment that I've got here is the strategy of how we initially approached our first year of YouTube and what we did about it. So with YouTube, like I said, we had a YouTube channel since 2019 as a family. I had a fitness channel before that, so I was quite used to filming and editing and stuff and building up my skills.
And me being a side person.
Yes. But 2019 we went all in on the family vlogs, and we started doing more so as a family. So the girls were really used to filming content as well. And we did that for quite some time. And we had 7,000 subscribers on YouTube before we left the UK in 2023. And we also did TikTok and Instagram as well. But with YouTube, we basically just had the strategy of we wanted to do 2 videos every single week. And that's what we did from the start. Every location we went to, we had 2 videos every single week. I had 2 edited days. So we'd usually go out for one day and film an experience. Then I'd edit it the next day, and then we'd post, and then there'd be another experience I'd edit it and post, and we would just go on like that. The time of the videos were roughly around 10 to 15 minutes long. We didn't want to overdo it on the video length at that time because of edit time and just being able to get that done and be consistent. So we kept them 10 to 15 minutes long.
I think that the main strategy was to make sure that we were consistent and it was updated, and we were uploading twice a week with content, and we were just adamant on doing that.
Yeah.
And that's what we set the bar at, and that's what we did to start off with.
Yeah, and I knew what we had to kind of film, and I researched so much about the places we were going and different types of content on YouTube, and we just went for it, and we made sure that we'd set off and we had people interested and wanting to watch our journey, obviously, and we knew we had to be consistent with those videos so people could follow along each week of where we are. We never wanted to be people that filmed content for a month and then a couple of months down the line release that content. We wanted to be quite as live as we could be, where we would experience something and then we would get it out a few days later. So that's what we did with our YouTube channel, and thankfully it's been a big success, and we still to this day we are loving it, and we're progressing as much as we can on that.
I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, I hope that answers that question.
That was a very heavily quiz-based question.
What's the one item that each of you couldn't live without, especially in the first year? Quick fire answer.
My GHDs.
Your GHDs. Okay. Mine is my mobile phone. Definitely.
I think
got a slight addiction, but it also involves the majority of the job. So I definitely couldn't have lived without
I
mobile
definitely
phone.
went for something very simple. And just going back to the beginning of the podcast when we said that we were definitely not backpackers, I'm saying GHDs.
Okay, final question this week is, how long have you been traveling and how long will you travel for? So we've been traveling for...
But just over 2 years, we're coming into year 3. Yeah. We initially planned a year and we followed that route for 9 months, and then we changed it and it seems to have continued into year 2. We have a rough plan of what we're wanting to do for the next 5 years, and I think we know what we're doing with that, and we're continuing along the line of traveling for that amount of time.
Yeah, we've got like a 5-year plan.
And we're coming up to year 3 of that.
To year 3. So stay along for the journey. It's been an absolute amazing one so far, and we have loved it. But yeah, 5-year plan, who knows? Things can change. Remember, plan A, B, C, D. Big tip there. But yeah, that's what we currently are.
Well, that's what we currently are, and we can't see at the moment within that plan of the 5 years or beyond the 5 years stopping traveling.
Yes, we're loving it basically, and we want to continue and want to see as much as we possibly can. So that is the questions done for this week. That's our big story of leaving the UK. We really hope you have enjoyed this episode. This has been episode number 2. Please hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the follow button on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and tune in for next Friday for episode number 3. And we shall see you all then. Goodbye.
Bye.